We have a quorum, we are gonna begin and, okay, we have a quorum, we're gonna convene this meeting at 6:48 tonight at 8 on August 13th. We have chapters 5, city and town clerk, 6, city council, 8, law department, and then any other topics raised by any commission members. So, we still have tabled items also, maybe we'll go over those on Saturday. And we still tabled the mayor's section as well. I invited city council to meet either today, tomorrow, or Monday. We have some council members here. Thank you for coming today. And hopefully we will have more at these other dates. So we're going to start with chapter 5, which is city and town clerk. So, I would like to put into the records exhibit 1, the charter revision, August 11th amendments, and August 13th meeting document. So it is called something draft 2. What does that say?
Round 2, draft 2.
Okay, round 2, draft 2. So if everybody turn to chapter, yes, it's page 19, chapter 5, city clerk. Okay, so on page, oops, I don't know what page it's on. Okay, I don't know if it's still there, but section, so chapter 5, section 2, appointments, powers, and duties of the deputy city clerk, section A, there's a his, her. It might be wrong.
It's gone.
Is it gone? Okay.
Yeah, it's not there.
All right, it was in the draft from yesterday. All right, so that's gone. So it takes some time to look.
This, again, on page 18, the top paragraph,
We're on city, you're in the wrong,
city clerk.
you're on the wrong one. You need to go to this one. Mine was updated. The,
Yeah.
his, her was updated, so we have to go to the new document.
I hope that's why it's going to be difficult.
It's
to not keep giving you copies, because
Yeah.
we keep finding stuff that wasn't pointed out, it wasn't highlighted until
There's a his, her here.
All right,
So take a look at the changes that are here and we can vote on whether or not.
There's
On
a,
the him, her.
there's a him, her in the same
Wait.
section.
I missed it.
I did too.
What pages?
I actually did a word search, so I really was.
What pages? We're on page 19.
Under 2A, at the second last line.
That is the one I
No,
was talking about.
yeah, no, the second to last line.
Yep.
Okay, we're done.
In A?
Yeah, Cat 5,
Function
him, her.
Motion to adjourn.
shall have the same duty.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
Oh, I was looking.
Oh, no, it wasn't, never mind. The one I was talking about was above,
Yeah.
in the first line.
Close this one, because that's not helpful.
No, him, her is gone. Oh, no, sorry, him, her is still there, I'm gonna change it.
Okay. Yeah, we should, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a quick roll call vote, just to make this part of the record. Thomas Garnett. Here. John Mosier here. Moises Gonzalez. John Marshall Lee. Here. Faith Sweeney.
Here.
Aisha Wright Abdallah.
Here.
Terry Williams. Susan Martin.
Here.
Kelly Mims. Diane McKnight. Joe Larsovich. Ken Egan.
Present.
Steve McKenzie. You have a, Madam President, Madam Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank
Okay,
you.
that's done.
All right. Anything in section 2 besides the Tim Parton?
Yes, I have something.
In section 2?
Just a question. Did we intend to allow and why would the deputy city clerk have authority to appoint assistants? The deputy
Where are you?
should sit and be, to be. I would think only the city clerk would have the power to appoint assistants. If the city clerk's not available, the deputy is exercising the functions of the city clerk.
I think that's the current language, but I agree with you.
I mean, it
Well,
may
no.
be, but you don't want, that'd be like the deputy city attorney appointment.
Yeah, but I think this is because the deputy city clerk is running the office, and that this probably doesn't contemplate the change where that person will no longer be elected.
I think even in that case, you'd still want to make the head person.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Agree, but we gotta check both sections, check the city clerk section, I mean, town clerk section too.
Can I ask a question? Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I ask a question, because I'm getting confused with what I just heard.
Yes.
I thought the only thing we were gonna take away was the town clerk and city clerk
Yes.
positions,
Elected position.
elected
Elected
positions.
positions.
But we're gonna name them, the two that are still there that do the work, deputies.
No.
That's not the issue, though. The
Now,
issue
you
that,
said, help me understand, I thought. they
No,
were
so the city,
retired.
so for example, let's just use the people who are there now. Francis will be the city clerk, and the person I've been emailing to, Lynette, I would assume would be the deputy.
Well, I don't think that's not gonna work like that.
That's-
No.
Wait.
What is
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
We're
no,
gonna
that's
say
not gonna work like
we're way
that.
ahead of ourselves.
No, but you're losing.
Let's say this charter as written gets adopted tomorrow.
Right,
Francis goes from being an assistant city clerk to a deputy city clerk,
Right.
which is a name change.
Right.
Okay, then, in 2031, the city clerk and the town clerk are no longer elected, they will be appointed. And Francis may apply for the job,
Right.
and Christina Resso may apply for the
Right.
job. And they're probably good candidates for it, but there's a civil service process that will
Right.
ensue to appoint.
So what would your title be?
As of the charter passage, they become deputies. They're still basically where they are now in the pecking order,
Right.
but they get a name change until 2031.
right.
Then
And the
that
job's
deputy
open,
becomes.
the job's.
No, then the job is open, the job of city clerk and town clerk become open,
Okay.
it's no longer elected,
So
and we
it
run
becomes
a
city
process
clerk.
to
Yeah,
select.
you can't automatically become.
You know what I'm saying?
No, they go through the
Number one
process, whoever
position,
goes through the process
Whoever
is
gets
the
the
city
number
clerk.
one position, they become the city clerk.
Correct.
That's the question.
Correct.
All right.
So they would have the opportunity, outside of an electoral process, to become the head of the
But
office.
if they don't become the head, they would retain their deputy position. So it's not like they're losing their job.
Yeah,
But the thing I was getting at on not having the deputy do appointments, just for comparison, if you go to the law department on page 29, section 3, it defines the duties of the deputy in the absence of the city attorney. And I think you should do that for the deputy city clerk and town clerk, in section 3, and not have two people with appointment authority simultaneously.
You said the law department, it defines the role of the deputy and
On
what?
page 29, section 3, it talks about supervision of the department. And it says, specifically, it says in the last sentence, In the absence of or incapacity of the city attorney or upon the delegation of authority by the city attorney, the deputy city attorney shall assume or share the general supervision of the law department. And you probably want similar language if you
What's
don't.
absence?
I don't know. You know. Well, same. But my point is, at least,
Extended absence.
at
And
least,
those offices.
I suppose it could be a cool. Listen, all I'm saying is, why are we giving appointment authority to deputies when you still have a town clerk and a city clerk? I don't think you want to give them.
Sorry, I was sidetracked by his main comments. But yes, this should be revised. We should revise
Okay, so
this.
we're revising it to what?
I'm talking about revising these.
No, revising the deputy city clerk. That should get revised, I agree.
So the deputy should not be appointed.
Unless they're exercising the powers of the city.
I make a motion that we have the city attorney revise subsection B. So chapter 5, section 2, subsection B, to remove appointment power from the deputy city clerk and to add a new subsection which empowers the deputy clerk in the incapacity of the.
Before we do that, before you vote on that motion, why don't we take a look? Because it looks like it's there, to me at least. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. But it says in the absence or disability of the city clerk. So that's in the middle of the sentence. It doesn't start with that. But the deputy city clerk shall devote their entire time to the duties of the office and shall, in the absence or disability of the city clerk, have the power to perform the duties.
So just take out then, just delete the appointment authority because it'll get picked up there, if ever.
Where is the appointment
I
authority?
got court.
Oh,
In
B.
the next, in
And
subsection
B.
B.
Okay.
Just take them out, so the same thing for the town clerk,
Okay.
that language is the
So
same.
what?
Right,
Simple.
because right now they have concurrent.
So say again, what's happening?
Okay. Okay, so I revised my motion to say, delete in section 2, subsection D, the words "and deputy city clerk."
And should it say the city clerk shall appoint, or should it continue to say may?
You know, that's an interest, that's another issue.
I think it should continue to say that because it's permissive, not required.
Right.
I think we should keep it permissive.
Duties of the deputy town clerks.
Okay, so can you repeat the motion again?
Amend chapter 5, section 2, subsection B, to delete the words "and deputy city clerk."
Okay, all questions?
Well, go ahead.
Let's get it.
In plain English, okay, so because now we're talking, the lawyer, So when you have the deputy city clerk, okay, when that person has the power to appoint people, am I correct to say that?
Right.
Okay. Not, then the town clerk is going to be able to do the same thing, right? But who is the city clerk? Because you have deputy city clerk, who is the city clerk?
They're out disabled.
The what?
The city clerk is not on deck, able to do the job, and that's when this comes into.
Okay, but who is the city, the city clerk is still going to be, they have to be appointed, correct? Is that
In the
still
future.
there?
But even for right now, when this passes, the language we're talking about is Francis can't appoint somebody in the city clerk's office. Only Lydia has that power. But Francis can exercise the powers that Lydia has only when Lydia is disabled or unable to perform her
So that's
functions.
where it
So we're
is.
clarifying that because right now, Mark pointed out, the way it reads now, Because it says either of them can appoint people in the office. And it doesn't say Francis can only do it when Lydia's gone, it just says Francis has the power, and you don't want that. The head of the office should appoint
That's what I-
unless they're not available.
That's
And then-
correct.
Or they're incapacitated.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
So Mark's
correct.
cleaning up that
Right.
language. I mean, it's kind of
I
understood.
think we have to clean up the following sentence too, the subsequent sentence.
Okay, that's English.
It should probably say any assistance to the city clerk and remove deputy city clerk shall be in the classified civil service.
The assistant to the city.
Because wouldn't assistance be the assistance to the city clerk? There wouldn't be assistance to the deputy city clerk.
Just would say city clerk and deputy city
Oh,
clerk.
yeah, that's true.
So we'll remove deputy city clerk from the subsequent sentence.
So it will read, any assistant to the city clerk shall be in the classified civil service.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually,
Let's go see.
I'm wondering whether or not that's already covered by chapter 17. In other words, everyone who's not classified is unclassified. Oh, sorry, who's never unclassified is already classified. So if you just delete that sentence, we're good.
What?
Like, in other words, this reference to everyone else in the office that's not the city clerk being in the classified civil service is,
Did we pick up the deputy?
Yeah, that's what I was
clerk,
checking.
deputy city clerk, and
it wouldn't be there because they're not, because they're classified.
oh, that's right.
And in fact, so would the city and town clerk. They'd be classified. but not
Yeah, so
classified.
why do we, yeah,
So just delete that reference, right?
yeah, I think you're right.
Scott?
Where does it establish that they're classified? Are you using the here and after creative language to determine that?
No,
Page
it's just-
Page 67, classified service. Classified service shall include all other positions for classified.
Okay, so that's what you're using.
So everyone that's not on our list that we
The
voted
catch-up.
on, is automatically.
So,
So what's happening with this whole section?
Take that sentence.
Back.
well,
Take out the statement.
Tom has a motion on the floor that hasn't been seconded, which I think,
No, it was seconded by Kim.
I'm sorry,
Maybe we
missed that.
should
So
You
there's
make a
all-
So the
motion.
first thing that was moved was deleting of deputy and deputy clerk. So do we want to do that, or do we want to add what you're talking about now, but we have Scott who hasn't spoken?
I just want to raise kind of a practical issue in that the town and city clerks in their elected roles aren't full-time people. And the full-time people are the would-be deputies. So in a way, my thinking is they should have some authority, power to appoint assistants as necessary. The other concern is if you do roll over to the town clerk, there's nothing about town clerk or deputy town clerk making appointments, so,
I think,
or am I wrong?
I think the contemplation, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah,
is that when we hit 2031 or
Yeah.
whatever, the city clerk and town clerk will be
Be
full-time
full-time.
positions.
Yes, yes.
And in the interim, I don't think you want the deputies undermining the authority of the elected people by running out and making appointments. Because even though you're right, the elected town clerk and city clerk are only part-time, they have always exerted, ultimate control over their departments.
Well, further clarification, the city and town clerk currently are full-time, they're not 40-hour full-time, but they're 32 and a half hour.
That's right, they get paid 32 hours, 32 and a half hours. Whether they show up or not.
They make it
okay. So, the point in terms of having the town clerk the authority to appoint, then, seems to me there should be some parallel language there.
But
Or am I
that would
wrong?
be for a short term. That's going to be from now until
Yeah.
2031.
Correct.
No.
But why, if they're working 32 and a half hours, as I was just informed, would we be bringing? You're saying that elected,
Well, I agree with Scott that whatever language we put for one office, we should put for the other. But the point is, never mind elected versus appointed. I think your point is right. If you're in charge of the office, you have appointment power, unless you're not there, or can't be there, disabled, whatever, in which case your deputy takes over and assumes those powers. Period. Elected, appointed, 32 and a half hours, 40 hours, 10 hours, doesn't matter. And it should apply to both, because you're right, the same language is not, I don't think, in the next
that's
section.
what,
So,
it's on the town clerk.
Okay.
So
That's
we're
fine.
that's a
amending
good
your-
point, yeah.
So
we should
strike-
make it clear, too.
The deputy is being an
so back to, thank you.
We still have a motion on the floor.
We have delete deputy and deputy city clerk.
Maybe we
There
should
was
take
some-
that one first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just.
All those in favor,
Okay.
signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Okay, I have a further motion now to delete the next sentence, which says, "The assistant to the city clerk and deputy city clerk shall be in classified service." Just kill that
So,
sentence.
delete. What's the last sentence in that section? Delete. So we're just deleting the last sentence, right, for that one?
Correct.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Now we have to add B's language to the town clerk's office, correct?
Well, or is there anything in section 3? Good there. Is that right?
Section.
Okay.
Section.
Okay, section 4.
I guess I make a motion to copy the language. I'll just, I guess, read it, add a new section.
So you want to make it section,
7.
Well, maybe it's part of it.
I did wonder why the two look different. The two sections look different.
Today's town clerk, a lot more limited.
It's funny because they're the ones that have the more duties.
So is the, are we
Copy
looking at
2B, just put it under the first paragraph for the town clerk.
section,
And there's no-
4.
there's no equivalent.
Yeah, there's not a,
Well, what it says here is it says,
Why don't you just make a motion to conform the town clerk to the city clerk and town zone structure?
yeah,
I don't know why they're different. How come they were probably written at different times?
yeah, and this stuff about shall receive a salary, there's, is that the same?
well, their salary is a little weird.
But this just looks so different.
Well, so there's salary for city clerk, section 3, subsection B.
Yeah, it's weird.
Then there's a whole,
Section 6.
With regards to the salary of the deputy city clerk, shall be established in the same manner as any other city employee.
Oh, yeah, so, okay, going back to subsection 3, right, so city clerk and deputy city, so the salaries, I mean, it should just say the city clerk shall receive a salary which shall be established by ordinance.
Yeah, it is, but then the deputy city clerk establishes, is her salary established in the same manner as
Oh, I
all other
don't
city
need to say
employees.
this. Isn't this just obvious?
but how could I say that?
They're not classified civil servants. Yeah. Wait, if the city clerk and the deputy city clerk are in the classified civil service, their salary is not established by ordinance.
Set by this commission
It's-
or collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah.
They become a member of
It's not established by ordinance, so that's not right.
the. Well, it is
But for
now.
now,
That's the problem. We're trying to
Oh,
serve
it is
two
for
masters
now.
here.
It is for now. So then we're gonna have to say effective 2031, what the reality will
do
be.
you need to by charter say that an elected official gets a salary? I guess you do.
Yeah, because there's a provision here that says you can't get a salary. Right? So if there's an exception to
You
that.
have to establish the salary somewhere.
I think we're gonna have to date it.
Are we stuck in the quagmire over here?
No, it's just, this is really boring.
Well, the structure is changing in 2031, which means the way they're paid will change. Right, so currently their city clerk is established by ordinance, but that won't be the case after 2031 when they're classified civil service, they'll be established by.
You could
And
have,
won't they sign on their salary? Is there a
Civil service, or no, or collective bargaining.
Well, you know, one of the things, but, right?
Yeah.
So,
Honestly,
you could theoretically put a statement at the end of the sentence. Like, I'm
What
looking at the
section,
town
where?
clerk one where it says, on page 20, section 6A, the town clerk shall receive a salary which will be established pursuant to the provision of this charter and/or city ordinance, comma, until such time as the position becomes a member of the classified service.
that's good.
So that would apply to both city and town.
Yeah, that does it.
yeah.
Did you get that?
Mhm.
Tell me.
Well, I gotta say, I mean, I don't even know if it's worth fussing with this. Like, I would be fine if we just made a motion to ask the city attorney to redraft the town clerk section to conform to what we just did with the city clerk and bring it back to us to look at.
Anybody second that motion?
I
Second.
second it.
I mean, I don't think that's controversial. I do have something more thoughtful and controversial I want to throw out. I think the commission needs to make real decisions, you know what I mean?
The
This
city
is a
attorney
smart
will,
commission, never someone else who will do the work we take up for.
So I make a motion that the city attorney redraft the chapter 5 and submit it back to us consistent with our conversation and ensure that the town clerk and city clerk sections appropriately mirror each other.
That's it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
But I do have a more controversial.
Let me finish.
hold on, give me a second. Kim? So that passed.
Commissioner Eaton? Say something?
So, yes,
No.
section 3, does that take care of that section 2? So, section 6 and section 3 we're talking about then?
Oh, I was saying all of chapter 5.
Oh, all of chapter 5, okay, hold on.
And that's my question on that issue, where it says, under section 5, they shall devote their entire time to the duties of the office, is that necessary?
Well, that means they have to be full-time.
Okay, okay. All right, so that whole chapter is done? I mean, not for, nope, never mind, yes.
All right, now, never mind the boring stuff. The more interesting question, it's one that Mark has actually raised a number of times, and then some council members have raised it during their process, which is whether or not we should continue to have the city clerk be the clerk of the council, or whether or not we should have the legislative office be the clerk of the council. And
Have whose office?
the legislative services. So in other towns, like in New Haven, the legislative services department, or whatever they call it, serves the council in all respects. They do everything. They set the agendas, they do the minutes, they help them do research, they whatever. And obviously the town clerk does its statutory duties, and you still would need a city clerk. I'm not saying delete the city clerk, you still have the function. But the role becomes a lot more limited to just being clerk of basically documents, of appointments, of a service of process for the city, all those types of things. But all of their council functions basically go to legislative services.
Is that a full-time job?
You take away so much of the activity, but it's no longer.
You can, I mean, a lot of towns have combined town clerk and city clerk for that reason. Now, you could still have someone in that office that has the title city clerk and who performs those functions. But I think your point was, we'll be the only city in Connecticut that has all three. fully functioning. And we have this really weird division of responsibilities with the Office of Legislative Services can't do most of the stuff of the council, which, you know, if we were redesigning the system from the ground up, we would never do it this way. The question is, are we willing to tolerate it because it's the way it's always been done? That's the question.
You
Kind
have
of staff
certain
in
people
the legislative office.
currently assigned to the city clerk's office that arguably would be more appropriate to transfer to the legislature.
That's a fair point.
Is
yeah.
the staffing from the city
Yeah,
clerk's
I
office
think so.
or the legislative office? Who would oversee? So then you would have almost two bosses, you have a city clerk and you would have a legislative director.
No,
The city
no,
clerk
no.
wouldn't be in charge.
Yeah, they wouldn't share the responsibilities. It would be one or the other. There's no support staff right now for the legislative services, so that's a single person. So if they take on clerk responsibilities, they're probably gonna need help doing that.
And that would come from the office of the city clerk now, or we have?
I mean, it makes sense.
Given the way we've always done it, it's a radical thing, which is why I threw it out there and stated it as such. But again, if we were building from the ground up, we would never design a system that has the city clerk performing these functions and a legislative services office with a director and staff, and then separately a town clerk, which we need to have that. So it just doesn't
The
make
city
sense.
clerk would still be in charge of commissions and boards and those agendas and such. So basically.
All appointments would still go through that
all-
office. You hit a pothole and you want to sue the city, you still have to serve it on that office. You know, all those things would stay.
So what would your language sound
Why,
like?
why would the city clerk do the agendas for the council if the legislative?
No, I'm talking commissions, the commission and boards.
Well, that's part of the commissions, and that's part of,
City
That's
clerk.
that's part of the agenda. That's really all the city clerk does, is put them on an agenda.
But not for, they're saying for, boards and commissions.
Boards and commission, what else do they do on boards and commissions?
Oh, they do the work. yeah.
That's right.
They basically
A lot of
just-
the
they
boards
just
and
keep the
commissions
records.
have their own clerk.
Yeah.
They put out the notices.
The Board of
that's what-
I mean, the city clerk is the
WPCA
notice.
has their own clerk.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
You know, I don't
so
know.
they
The real
don't.
problem is exactly what Tom said. We're taking an existing system and, shading around the edges without addressing the real. Somebody has a suggestion.
I have an observation, is that, why is it coming up now? You didn't raise it before,
I did.
did you?
Yeah, but we were doing too much too fast. Oh,
Well,
definitely
I
said.
don't think this is the point to be making a basic thing like that. In my mind, the city clerk and town clerk, we're changing the political positions out 6 years from now. But they're gonna stay involved for 6 years. So, and the Office of Legislative has been in place for, when did you fund it, Scott?
2 years ago.
So it's been in the budget for 2 years, but it doesn't have enough people to bear the burden?
We funded one position, this year we funded a second.
Okay, so it's still working to determine its effectiveness. I mean, I would leave it the way it is, because, not because if we were architects designing it originally, we wouldn't do it this way. We'd probably end up with one person and 2 or 3 deputies. But we're not about to toss out the people until 2031, the political substance of the office. So why do it now with those types of changes which come at the last minute? And this is, again, to my mind, at the last minute, where attention has been gotten away. I've overstayed my here to vote, okay, to be part of the quorum that can vote. I'm vice president of another organization who happens to have a meeting tonight too, at the same time. So I'm against it. That's
Can I
why.
ask Tom a question on that point, and it would be this. you may have to ask Steve that. In the transition provisions, can you put in a provision that says the allocations of duties and responsibilities of the town clerk, city clerk, and legislative offices will sunset and be revisited by ordinance in 2031 or something?
Yeah, well, and that was kind of more, I didn't envision
know if you
this
can
being
do
a this year thing. In other words, it would be set out in the future
Yeah, but that,
as a reallocation of, and listen, we spent a lot of time, and we're about to get to that next chapter, but it's relevant to the city clerk section that creates this whole office of legislative services, defines how the director is appointed, all this language, staffing, funding, all this stuff that we put in there, just to do what? Only legislative research, like barely anything. And again, and we keep harping on, and city council members raised this with me too, saying, and talking about New Haven and all this kind of stuff as a best example, which is why I raised it. I thought it was inconsiderate of the point to not raise it. So I raised it, and I do agree. I think it needs to be in a transition. There's no way this is happening now. But I raised it because if there was enough interest, we should try to draft some language to try to address
the
it.
streamline.
Maybe that's a 2031 thing too. Maybe it's like when that happens, to your point, the reallocation of who does what changes.
So can't you introduce the shared services down? Because you're saying ramp up, but right now the charter doesn't give the legislative services office the authority to serve as clerk, right? And so if the idea is that they should contribute to that function, then they need to get that permission through the charter. It's not authorized currently.
Well, I was saying, literally gutting that language about them being the clerk.
But you can't give it to them in 2031 as they're going out, you can't give it to them then?
No, I'm saying share the responsibilities currently.
Yeah, but I'm saying, why can't it happen in 2031 when the real changes are gonna happen in that?
The other issue, or can it be dealt with through job descriptions in civil service? None of us with the charter really need to mandate this right now. Could it be left open to future reallocation? I don't know.
So if we take out the city clerk being the clerk to the city council, then there's nothing defining the clerk of the city council. But there isn't anything defining the clerk of any other board or commission either, and they all have them.
And the clerk's office is not going to drop the potato. I think, what's going to happen is they're going to continue to do it, and at such time the council sees fit to have the legislative office take it over, that can happen through a budget process.
Or assist. I mean, they can currently share assistant. Scott?
Well,
Go ahead.
we might have made something, so. My thought is, I think it's important for the city to have a clear city clerk's office, which, yes, this is the place you go where all the records are for council, the boards and commissions as well. Again, that might be established by ordinance, right? But I think kind of having that separate office of saying, here's the neutral office and some citizen wants to come in and get information, they go to the city clerk. And the legislative office will do its work in terms of, yes, preparing agenda and things like that, but I think officially to me, it sounds better to come from a city clerk's office, that it's more independent, neutral, professional. And then I know Tom and I have had conversations about staffing. We don't need like a full-fledged city clerk's office with staffing if a lot of the same work is being done in the legislative office. So I think that could be handled budgetarily as well. But just to my mind, keeping legislative office separate from city clerk makes sense, but that's my view.
I'm with Tom. I think that, you have the city clerk and you have the legislative office, and right now, there's the functioning, the legislative office is very short, there's only a certain capacity of what they can do right now and what they can't do. And the city clerk does all the agendas and everything. I think having them combined together helps the situation, with the agendas and the boards and commissions. But, that's just my opinion. Everybody has their own opinion.
It was my understanding that the legislative office was really put in place to support the city council, to provide research and to provide whatever, especially because they are not full-time positions by any means, and resources are limited, and if they needed to understand what other cities do and set this and that and the other thing, they would do the research. And so I thought that the function of the legislative office was very, very different from record keeping. And I do agree with Scott that the record keeping is critical. And it should be the function of what I believe to be a clerk and not the office that may be distracted by because they're supposed to be doing this research over here. They didn't have time to get to register this with the whatever date it was supposed to happen and all of this. I don't agree. I don't agree with having the legislative office do the function of the city clerk when it was my understanding that the function of the legislative office was to provide support to non-paid, non-full-time city clerk, city.
That was my understanding.
But if I could respond to that. So agreed only because it's the way it's always been done. Again, like in New Haven where they have a fully functional like legislative office, the legislative office performs these functions because they're assisting the council in all ways. So for instance, this committee needs to schedule its meeting and they need to set up an agenda and all that kind of stuff. In New Haven, that's all done by the legislative services because that is aiding in their responsibilities, setting that agenda, giving them their materials. We see now, even with the introduction of like video for both our committee meetings and our full council meetings, the legislative office director is now taking on those responsibilities. Oh wait, but I thought that was supposed to be the city clerk. We're already starting to see that blend of roles because really the legislative office is supposed to serve the council and all of its functions. And you're right, the city clerk is more of just a record keeper. Like they take records, they file them. They take service and process, they do very just filing type stuff. Whereas legislative services, in my view, is supposed to like kind of help the council in all ways. Some of it is
Proactive
doing research.
versus responsive.
Yeah, I don't know how to say. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. You're right.
That's what
But I mean, I suppose it can be done this way. Again, like it's not the end of the world to keep city clerk doing this. It's just, again, then the legislative services is just stuck to doing research whenever council members need
But
to.
I don't think it's being suggested that the city clerk won't continue to be the keeper of records for the council. They would be the keeper of all of the records, right? I mean, you would still have all resolutions and things go to them and be filed by them. Are you suggesting that legislative service take over that completely?
You're talking about keeping records, he's talking about generating, creating the records.
Creating the records, yeah.
So,
And so I think they should continue to keep the records, but they don't necessarily have to be responsible for creating them.
so Councilman Burns is the head of the budget committee. He says, okay, we're doing a meeting on this date, and I need an agenda that has this, and this item on it. And the legislative services office, as a nonpartisan office, as is created by this, because it's not a political office, it's a nonpartisan office, would serve that function instead of the clerk. Again, and the ball's not being dropped if it stays with the city clerk. I just think in places like New Haven, where they've really given legislative services and the council authority, they've delineated the role and said, legislative services, you do everything for the council that it needs, go. And the city clerk is just a record keeper. And to me, that makes a lot of sense, but I know it's clunky though, trying to transition from one model to the other.
Through the chair, can I just give you an
Yes.
example of what happened? What happens sometimes is the town city clerk, and I get a hold of one of the council people, what happens is that person calls Ashley, and from Ashley then calls the city council person to make sure that they follow up on their agenda or not, okay? Now, I was on vacation, that happened to me, okay? So it is starting to cross over, just so you know.
Yeah, I mean, even things like doing a quorum check for a meeting, whose responsibility ought it be if we're creating this thing?
It sounds like they're working in collaboration, but it does sound like, I don't know, it sounds like to me that nothing should really change right now. But go ahead.
Mr. Burns, I wanted to ask you, they said you funded Ashley's position. What was your intention when you did that? What was the intent for her position?
role.
What was her role?
Who's
What
that?
was, when you started?
The legislative.
She's our
Oh, yes,
legislative
yes, yes, yes.
director.
Right, right, right.
But what was her job duties? What did you have down for her job duties?
Well, I could look that up specifically.
No, but I mean, just off the top of your
basically,
head.
the idea was someone who could assist us with doing research, drafting ordinances, following up with certain constituents or departments, basically an assistant to the council. But there was also the expectation that other positions would be developed within this
To help.
department, to assist her, to assist the council.
Because it seems that she has a more closer relationship with the council than the city clerk's office. That's what I'm seeing. And I've only been around for a couple of weeks. I'm not positive, but
I think that's fair.
that's what I see. And from our meetings and even talking to Jill, she seems to know what the city council's thinking sometimes, and she can tell you that. Because she seems to, in 2 years, it seems like she's kind of meshed with you guys very well.
Can we go back to what are we trying to accomplish here? Because from what I've heard, it doesn't sound like there should be a change in what the legislative office is doing versus the city clerk. They're definitely two different roles. It sounds like they need to collaborate with each other, I guess.
Yes.
And maybe that needs to be defined, but what are we trying to do with the charter based on this discussion?
My thought was if we were making a change, we would have a transition provision which would take this language that says that the city clerk is the clerk of the council to make it the Office of Legislative Services. And I'm not prepared to, I just want to throw it out there to see what people's thoughts are, and it is interesting to hear the discussion. So I'm good to just, let's move on. I'll go and I'll work with these guys to look at New Haven and see how they do this and what the defined roles are and come back with a proposal or not, or just say it's too complicated and let's move on with our lives.
Do we need to vote on that?
Can I just ask one question?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It seems to me that section 1 speaks to the duties of the city clerk, and it doesn't necessarily say they will establish agendas, they will set up meetings. So it's not really written in stone here. You know, there could be some transition of some responsibilities without having to change the charter.
One of my thoughts was exactly that. It was kind of a sidebar we had. How can we just maybe remove some of this language so that it can be up to other things, like done by ordinance or through civil service job descriptions, so that if the council wants to make this change at a later time as they staff up in legislative offices or we want to move people around, it can happen without the charter being a barrier to that shift. So I agree with you. That might be the simple thing.
So you repeat what you were saying?
What I was saying is it does, section 1, the duties of the city clerk does not specifically speak to, they will create the agenda.
Yes, it does. It says the city clerk shall prepare the agendas for
Oh, I'm sorry, you know what, I was trying to breeze through as quickly as I could with this tiny little print.
Oh, you're right.
I missed it.
I thought it was just serve as the clerk of the council, but yeah, you're right.
So maybe we just take out.
Some specifics.
Yeah, it shouldn't be so specific, maybe just make it broad and say clerk.
So the idea
That
is,
may be the
There's a
easier
lot of
answer.
that in this, like in other sections, like, for example, there was a discussion not to put so much for the director of office, the Office of Municipal Ethics, but then this chapter, the finance department, the finance director, very specific language, so.
So specific. And the biggest problem with the charter just generally is it's so specific and then it doesn't get changed for decades and you're stuck with it. And you have two options. One is to be stuck with bad language, and just not follow it, I don't know, which is what happens in a lot of cases, or you just have old clunky stuff in here. That's what happens.
So are you suggesting to go back to section 1, duties of the city clerk, and clean that language up, or?
Yeah, I'll come back with a proposal. I didn't want to bog this down. I just wanted to hear the thought. If people loved it, hated it. It sounds like we're kind of in the middle, but I think Sue's general point is probably the best avenue to go, which is not to define it and say, this is who's gonna do it, but to leave it open
Yes.
so that it can be defined in other places through civil service and the budget process. And let it happen naturally, let the elected officials, as they go through doing government every year, and as this office changes, be able to make the decisions without the charter handcuffing their
So will you
decision-making
bring
process.
language to us to, for that, thank you.
And then I would also ask, if you don't mind, that it refers to the rules of the city council. And so if things are very specific in there, it says, shall prepare the agenda for meetings of the city council in the manner provided in the rules of the city council. So
You need to do that.
that needs to be considered.
So basically.
To remove that?
No. What I'm saying is, what do the rules of the city council say? Does it say that the city clerk shall do this, this, and this, and this? Or is it more broad? And I wouldn't have any way of knowing the answer to that. But if it's referencing, it shall happen in the manner of the rules, then the rules need to be just at least considered.
Okay.
So I'm gonna leave it alone. Sue's point is probably the direction we'll go. We'll try to come up with language.
Okay, thank you. Wait, and so with that being said, oh no, there's, okay. So are we're good with chapter 8, chapter 5 for now, right? Okay, so the next chapter on our agenda is city council, and we have, it's 7:40. We don't really have time to dedicate to this, but I have some things that I did notice, but it might be fixed now in this new chapter. In this new draft.
What about chapter 4? Are we going to address that?
That's
The mayor?
You tabled it.
We tabled it for now. We're trying to get,
Trying to get this.
sending to
Well, the law department shouldn't be that difficult. You want to just get through that tonight?
yeah, so maybe let's, does anybody want to make a motion to table
I make a motion that we,
chapter 5?
table chapter 5.
Second.
All those in favor?
Chapter 5 or 6?
6.
I'm sorry, chapter 6.
Yeah.
I take back that motion.
Sorry. So, John, you motion to table chapter 6.
Okay,
Chapter 6. And who's seconding it?
that would be the city council chapter.
City council is now chapter 6. It used to be chapter 5.
Okay, so we're tabling that, right?
We're tabling it, because it is a long, it's gonna be a long discussion, more than 20 minutes. I checked, there was
Council made some changes.
Council did make changes.
Yeah, well, they were kind of my changes. They
So
agreed-
all-
They agreed to my changes.
They were just small. We tabled it, but, I don't know.
I can tell you
What page?
28,
For what?
the city attorney.
Okay, so yes, let's go to the, chapter 8, which is the law department. Or are we changing that title?
Well, that's the first thing, yeah, Mark just kind of mentioned it, but there's nowhere in the charter does it say the office of the city attorney, which is what we call the office. So we're recommending that you change it from law department to office of the city attorney.
That makes sense.
Okay, so
I make a motion, and do we have a quorum here? Where is Mr. Gordon?
He's right here. Right
Okay,
here back.
well, where you go? You're supposed to be there. That's why I'm confused.
I know, I got displaced.
All right, I make a motion that we change the title. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Who
Now,
motioned it?
you now work for a different department.
City attorney,
John Kosher and who?
John Lee.
John Lee. And we're calling it,
Office of the city attorney.
Section 2A is just clarifying language, no substantive change.
What page, you said that was page 28?
Yes.
I think you got the right,
She does.
I do.
Okay.
All right, so motion to change the title, and it's Office of the City Attorney, is that what we're changing it to?
Yeah.
And that was a unanimous vote? Okay.
Yes.
And then, Taisha, you said another?
So section 2A, the next changes, it's just, there's nothing substantive there.
Oh, no.
No.
It's just clarifying language.
Oh, you're not making any additions? You're just talking.
No changes.
How about the next section?
B is the change that you all have already discussed previously, which is to provide the city attorney with the authority to appoint the deputy, as opposed to the mayor. The other change in that section essentially says that if an associate city attorney is appointed deputy, they can remain in the union as opposed to being unclassified. But if the person is if the person comes from outside of the city attorney's office, then they will be unclassified.
But I don't understand, man, why? Why does that need to be addressed here?
Because currently, they're in the unclassified civil service, although our current deputy city attorney is in the city attorney's union. Because he was an associate before he was deputy, he would not give it up. So for the past 8 or 10 years, he's been acting deputy city attorney because he doesn't want to lose his union protection. And you shouldn't like get promoted at work and then get a disadvantage by becoming the deputy.
Well, why not just make it a classified civil servant, the deputy, and then that's not a problem?
Forever, for all people?
Yeah, but if you make it classified civil servant, then the new city attorney can't appoint their own assistant.
Oh, that's true.
Assistant, because you have just cause removed.
I mean, it just seems, otherwise,
So he gets.
This is nothing
that
new.
position
It's tight.
No matter what.
the thing is, it just looks like, look, I think very highly of the current, our acting deputy. The issue, of course, is we're carving out an exception here for one position based on current circumstances, which we tend not to do. So I'm trying to think about a global solution to not do that.
But I think this would probably be a consistent theme within that office. I can't imagine that the deputy city attorney comes from outside of the office, but perhaps, right? Perhaps they
But
do.
if the deputy,
Yeah, because why would you hire someone in that office that you don't know? And you have people there, right? But you might.
You technically you could.
You could, yeah, you could, but.
But then would you bring those people in as classified?
look,
Well, you can't.
what's the difference between that and any other department? The chief gets to pick their person, but then they're in the classified service. The public facilities director gets to pick their deputies when they're vacant, but otherwise they're in the
Well,
classified
that's
service.
supposed to be, if you read the current charter, the
Right.
deputies at public facilities are supposed to serve at the pleasure of the
But
director.
not in our new charter.
Well, that's because we allow them to join bargaining units, and so they have just cause protection.
Well, we weren't here when that happened, you may have been.
And it's true, we have a number of positions in the charter that say they serve at the pleasure of, or serve a term of years, who the city has permitted over the years for a variety of reasons to join bargaining units, and that gives them just cause removal.
Totally. And I just think though, the rule that we've adopted in this charter, in chapter 17, is that if you are a department head, you are in the unclassified service. If you're anybody else, you're in the classified service. So be it. I mean, it just means that department heads can't pick and choose who their deputies are at their whim.
They can in the police department.
But in a lot of places.
Only in two positions.
Right.
This is.
But
Nothing more
Are
important
we
than
gonna
a
be-
top lawyer being able to appoint somebody that shares their vision or mission.
So we
You
got
shouldn't
two.
be saddled with somebody who comes from private administration.
Unless the deputy is the operational person. So in many situations, the deputy is running the office. And in law departments, the deputy runs the office.
We're
We're gonna lose the forum.
We're not obligated to appoint somebody.
Are we gonna need a vote?
Yes.
Are you gonna need a vote?
I don't think
How
we
about we
need
table B?
Somebody got.
Motion to table B?
I make a motion to table.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Table.
Okay, so C is assistant city attorneys, there currently aren't any, but they're part-time. If we have them and they're in the unclassified civil service, they're appointed by the city attorney.
Okay.
And then I guess B is related to, or D is related to B, so we can't really address that now.
Are we gonna continue discussion after, or are we just gonna end the meeting? After we lose quorum? I'm trying to remember how that works. Are we
Yes,
allowed to
yeah.
keep
You're not
continuing?
supposed to do business when you lose a quorum if you recognize having lost a quorum.
I already recognized it, sorry.
Been
Well, not
recognized.
yet.
And it's pretty clear within the recognized.
Okay.
Mr. Lee has.
But there are no other substantive changes. Everything else is, it looks like capitalization.
You know, the
Okay, there
other-
was one thing that we thought of, right?
In the voice section?
Yeah.
Is that you can't have any outside attorneys come in without the, except as otherwise expressly provided by law, no board, commission, officer, or department of the city shall retain legal counsel to representative, so on and so forth, approved, it needs approval by the city attorney. Question that comes to mind, what we have in the ethics commission, where they have the authority to ask for outside counsel. Would that preclude that?
It would require the city attorney to consent to that, and they would do that if there's a need for either special expertise or if there's a conflict.
Okay.
Which is what we always do now.
But
We
you
do that,
just-
we do that now, we do it for the city council now.
Just-
And I bet if the city attorney was obstinate and tried to block it, they would win that argument.
But I
It would
think
be
that's
difficult.
probably a violation of the rules of professional conduct, if there's a conflict and you are allowing, I mean, we're governed by rules that are
We just
much
wanna make
bigger
sure
than the
that's
charter.
You want to make sure that
Let's be aware of it.
I'm trying to lose my license over this.
Connecticut.
For a number of years, we had an outside expert on ethics that we brought in on 2 or 3 occasions. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but
we can
there
hire.
is precedent, there is precedent.
For E, are chapters 9 and 17 the correct chapters? Or
9.
17 is fine.
9 may not be, but
It's 9.
17.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
I would just on that deputy thing that needed to.
So that's the budget.
So is chapter 9 or no?
What is it now?
Right, 9 was budget and fiscal controls.
Yeah, so now it's 10,
So 10.
but 17 will remain the same.
Who made that decision in the wise decision?
Because it's too much of the book. Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I just
How
jump
about-
back to one thing before, on the deputy, assuming you stick with that analysis of the deputy being in the unclassified unless it's the incumbent civil servant, we probably need to mirror that on page 66, where under number 10, we talk about the city attorney and the assistants being under the unclassified section. You don't mention the deputy under unclassified. You might want to put the deputy unless he serves as a member of the permanent
Well,
staff.
depending on the outcome of the
Yeah,
discussion.
You just want to mirror the two, whatever you decide.
Okay.
I lost me too.
How about section 3 and 4? Are we good with that, everybody who's here?
Yes.
Good to go.
All right, so, and then there was something on the top of page 30 in red. Is that supposed to be there?
No.
No, that was from, that's just the title, it's kind of on multiple pages.
Yeah.
That's just this document, it's
Okay.
a reference that this is
All
authorized by
right, so
resolution.
do we want to take, no, we're tabling items, so we can't really vote on the whole chapter, so.
Can we
We'll vote on the whole
table?
chapter except for the one that's tabled.
Those issues.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to accept this chapter 8, except for what has been tabled. I will accept the motion.
I made it, so moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank
Aisha,
you.
you left, I'm gonna send away from
Yes, all right.
2B got tabled.
We got 2B got
On
tabled.
page, starts on page 28.
We don't need to vote on the changing the chapter from 9 to 10 right now.
No.
Okay.
Well, quite frankly,
You
we might want to
included
move
it.
that around. We might want to move budget fiscal controls to 9 anyway and leave it 9.
Oh,
That
okay.
might make sense because it's referenced a lot. Finance department doesn't matter. Budget and fiscal controls, that's an important chapter.
Okay. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
7:55.
Do you want to check out who may be here for the next couple sessions?
Yes, who's going to be here on the 14th? The 14th?
Well, tomorrow's meeting?
Yeah.
I can be here for an hour tomorrow.
You can't be here, you might not have a quorum.
So wait a minute.
Also, I have to say, so just on that point, now we're getting into department chapters. And we were having a discussion about how we're gonna do this, and I don't know if we're ready for that conversation. So,
What do you mean, what chapter?
the department chapters, starting after, so once we get the finance on,
Yeah.
we need to do another consultation with our outside counsel on this proposal that the council voted on as part of their resolution, in which he recommended, which they've done in Norwalk and New Haven, to allow the council to replace charter chapters with appropriate ordinances. But we have some questions about the mechanics of that, and the meetings will go a lot smoother if we're on the same page about how it works, and make sure that someone smarter than us on this issue blesses what we're proposing. So maybe tomorrow should be killed. It'll need to be this time.
So how do I do that? Just, because, I mean, he's not gonna be here, you're not gonna be here. 3 people already said they're not gonna be here.
You just call the city clerk as the chair, and you say
There's no quorum.
Okay, Tom, one thing I wanna say, when we're gonna be at City Hall on Saturday, me and John usually arrive and the door is locked.
Is that at 10 o'clock on
Yes.
Saturday?
Yeah, but the door is not open.
You know, we can,
Well, not
We can
here,
change
we're
it
not
to
meeting
here.
here. We're
No, you're not meeting here because of the backpack event. It's gonna be too crazy.
oh, yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the following Saturday, we're gonna be.
That door should be open by.
Yeah, the door will be open.
Okay, because we've been just sitting out on the steps.
Yes.
So you are here?
Because if you don't, we're gonna keep.
I'm gonna attend
it's-
tomorrow.
And
I
we
just
just
don't
don't
think
say-
we have enough people.
I think we'll be,
Voices
I think
and-
we'll be spinning our wheels tomorrow. anyway.
Yeah, I would rather
Can I
just,
make a recommendation?
yes.
Thursday, the 21st, are all pretty light, easy chapters that we made really no changes on, police, education, and libraries. Why don't you move them up and do them on Saturday, get them out of the way, so that you can
Put
now
that
put the
together.
places, the things that get canceled tomorrow, you can move them to the 21st.
Okay, so moving this up to
That shouldn't take that long.
Saturday along with the other two.
Can we, instead of doing this like chapter by chapter like that, do we want to take a more global approach to the department chapters? Be able to address them all.
Like the police, the education, and the library.
Like, do we really want to pigeonhole ourselves to this?
Well, we're not creating anything by ordinance relative to education. The libraries, we're not gonna do that either.
Well, libraries, I don't know, but education definitely.
We're not touching it, so we're probably not touching libraries, and we're not gonna be making changes in police.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, that's what I'm saying, like, I think,
You're not gonna sign Saturday?
No,